Good morning. Namaste to each of you. Thank you for joining me this morning to honor your mind and your body and your spirit. Let's just take a moment to become present. Find a nice, comfortable seated position, either on a pillow or blanket block, something that'll allow the back of your spine and the back of your neck to sit nice and long and tall, reaching up to the sky, opening up your chest, and then opening up your diaphragm and opening up your heart. Let's gently close our eyes and soften our thoughts. Soften our eyes. Soften our shoulders. And soften our heart. Observe your breath as it is, soft and gentle, breathing life into you with each inhale, and relaxation with each exhale. Feel the grace of being present, returning to that awareness again and again. You may open your eyes now. For this morning's intention, you may think of a positive word or phrase to have with you on your mat, and perhaps carry that phrase with you throughout the day. This morning's intention I'd like to talk about is Asteya. Asteya is the third Yama in Patanjali's 8 limbs of yoga. Asteya is Sanskrit for non-stealing, non-coveting. It implies not taking what is not freely given, including material possessions, time, energy, or ideas. Practicing Asteya fosters inner abundance, contentment, and respect for others' boundaries. It means not taking from, but adding to. It means honoring the time, energy, and emotions of others. For example, being punctual. It means coming from a place of abundance, not lacking. For example, gratitude. Quote from Lao Tzu, who's an ancient Chinese philosopher. He said, "Be content with what you have. Rejoice in the way things are. When you realize there is nothing lacking, then the whole world belongs to you." So for this morning's pranayama, our breathing technique, we're going to do Antara Kumbhaka. And that is, Kumbhaka is the breath retention, and Antara is at the top of the inhale. So it gives us a full feeling in our lungs, in our chest, and in our heart. So we're going to use, and we'll do this when we start our asana practice, but we're going to use a natural breath and then just pause at the top, not holding the breath, just pause and have that feeling of fullness up here. So as your wave of breath moves from your stomach up to your ribs, up to your chest, and then we'll just pause and have that full feeling. Again, we'll do that once we get started. And before that, let's just do a brief meditation on our mat. This morning's mudra is Pushpaputa. Pushpaputa. And it's Sanskrit for handful of flowers. So you bring your two pinkies and the sides of your hands together, and then just cup your hands like a bowl. And it makes one receptive of what the universe has to offer. And if you like to use that, or you can use the affirmation, I have abundance, nothing is lacking. I have abundance, nothing is lacking. And I'll meet you on the mat. And don't need to bring my glasses. You open your eyes now, and we'll start our asana practice. So I'd like you to kind of go into this practice with a mindset of abundance. It's like maybe there'll be a pose that you will want to do or won't be able to do today. And just rejoice in what you are able to do. You know, it's, uh, you're not lacking, not by not doing it, but look at what you are able to do and feel that abundance of what you are able to do, and just kind of use that as your perspective today. So starting today, we're going to start with some shoulder shrugs. We haven't done those in a while, and we have some planks coming up. So I think it's a good asana pose to start with. So just kind of gently roll your shoulders up toward your ears. Maybe inhale as they go up and exhale as they come down. And just really relax into this movement. And if you'd like to reverse the motion, and just keeping it soft and gentle, relaxing. Alrighty, and then we'll bring our fingertips to the side, and this is where we're gonna practice the Antara Kumbhaka. Again, Kumbhaka is the breath retention, and Antara means on the top of the inhale. So again, just pause and feel that fullness in your chest and in your heart, in your body. So let's just start with our fingertips on the sides, and then inhale, bringing your hands up. Nice big inhale. And then we'll pause at the top. Maybe feel the fullness in your head where your hands are, between your arms. And then exhale, bringing down to the heart center. And then inhale, open up. Bringing your hands as far back as what's comfortable. Really opening your chest, opening your heart, and pause. Feel that fullness in your heart. And then exhale, bringing it back. Again, up on the inhale. Pause. And exhale. We'll do that a few more times. Just maybe close your eyes and just really feel your breath and your body become full. Inhale up. And pause. And exhale, bringing your hands to heart center. Inhale, open. Heart comes forward. Pause. And exhale. And inhale up. Hands overhead and pause. And exhale. One last time, inhale up. And pause. Exhale down. And then inhale, open. And pause. Exhale, close. And inhale up. And exhale down. Okay. We're going to bring our feet together in cobbler's pose. They're only going to be here just because they'll get them, honestly, just get them out of the way. And we're going to do some twists, but we'll start by going to the right knee. We're going to bring the right knee up so the foot is flat on the mat. Wrap our left arm around and bringing our right fingertips behind us, and just give a nice twist to the torso. And then come back to center and back to the cobbler's pose. And then we'll lift the left leg so that the knee's facing up to the sky and foot's on the mat. And wrap our right arm around the left knee, sending our fingertips to the back. And then we'll come back to center, back to cobbler's pose. We'll do one last time on each side. So bringing the right knee up toward the sky, wrapping your arm around, maybe get a little bit more of a wrap, and send your fingers behind your hips, and perhaps sending your gaze a little over to the right shoulder. And then back to center, back to cobbler's pose, then lifting the left knee to the sky, foot on the mat, wrapping the right arm around the left knee, bringing the left fingertips behind you, and perhaps sending your gaze a little bit further over to your left shoulder. And then back to center. And we're going to roll down on the mat. So it's just either knees bent or knees straight, or tucking your hands under, come down, connecting the vertebrae with the mat. And bring your knees to your chest and give them a nice hug. And then we're going to place our arms alongside and palms on the mat to support us. And we're going to bring our feet to the mat, the knees up to the sky. We'll tuck the navel to the spine to lower the back down toward the mat. I'm going to do a few, I don't know what they're called, working on our core, we'll put it that way. So we're going to lift the knees and kick out the feet straight ahead, and then bring them back and set them down on the mat. And you can choose your height. You can have them up so that your knees are right above your hips, and send the feet out and come back and set it down. Or that's one version. And then the most strengthening of the core is having your feet go out low to the mat and then back. So anywhere in between, knees up, sending your feet out, or knees lowering down to the mat and come back. Or any place in between those. Just kind of work for a few minutes to kind of get your sweet spot going. And the idea again is to work on the core. So when you're feeling it in the core, you're doing a great job. So we'll just kind of come back and forth, and you can set your feet down on the mat in between, or just kind of keep them moving at a nice, even flow. Again, try to keep your lower back down toward the mat. That'll be an important part of this pose. And one last time, out and in. And we'll place both feet on the mat. We'll take the right leg and cross it over the left leg so that the ankle's just below the knee. And then we'll bring that left knee toward our chest, interlacing the fingers behind the thigh, reclined pigeon pose. And gently breathe into the tension here. Okay, and we'll set the left foot back down on the mat, uncross the leg, and then we'll do that on the other side. So crossing the left ankle on, or placing the left ankle on the right leg, just below the knee, lifting the right leg up, interlacing your hands behind your leg, and coming into reclined pigeon. And then we'll place that right foot down, back down. We're going to come back up to tabletop. So you can either roll over to your side and come into tabletop, or you can rock and roll, come up into a seated position, and then cross your legs and then just walk over your legs and come into that tabletop position. Okay. Once you're in tabletop with your wrist right below your shoulders, knees right below your hips, navel's tucked to the spine. You have that gentle pressure in your hands, creating a nice distribution of weight in your hands. And then we'll take our nose and move it over to the right for a couple head turns. And then back to center, and then over to the left. And then back to center. And then over to the right again. And back to center. Over to the left. And back to center. Again to the right. And back to center, and again to the left. And back to center. And then we'll go into cat-cows. So we're going to exhale, rounding our back, dropping our head and tailbone down. Really stretching out. And then lifting our head and tailbone up, sending our gaze straight ahead. And again, rounding the back for cat. Sending the head and tailbone up, the cow. And we'll continue that for a few moments, synchronizing your breath with the movement. And maybe pause when you're in your cow pose and just have that Kumbhaka breath retention on the top of the inhale. And we'll come back to tabletop. And we're going to take our hands and taking our fingertips, we're going to move our fingertips toward the outer edge of the mat so that your hands, fingertips are in like a 3 o'clock and a 9 o'clock position. So they're not facing the top of the mat, but facing the sides of the mat. Just kind of relax here for a minute, maybe kind of move your hand or fingers around a little bit, create a little bit of activeness in your hands. And then we'll take our fingertips, and if this is comfortable for you, moving the fingertips into a 6 o'clock position. So we're just having the wrist facing the top of the mat and the fingers facing the bottom of the mat or facing your knees. We'll just kind of move them around a little bit. And then back to the facing the sides of the mat, 3 and 6 o'clock positions, and then back to the top of the mat. Alrighty, and then we're going to kickstand our left foot out of the mat, send the right foot down to the bottom of the mat, come into modified plank. Our left wrist is right below our left shoulder, and we'll sweep our hand all the way up to the sky. The right hand goes up, and we follow it with our gaze, and keeping the back leg down for this moment. And then sweeping the right hand back down. We'll do that 2 more times. Again, sweeping the hand up, nice and slow, nice big inhale when you're sweeping it up. Opening your chest, pausing for a moment, and then back down again. And one last time, sweeping it up, inhaling as you go. And pause. And then bringing it back down. Then we'll switch sides. Back to tabletop, and kickstand the right foot out, sending the left foot down to the bottom of the mat. Right wrist is below the right shoulder. And we'll sweep the left hand up, inhaling as we go. And pause at the top. And then exhale back down. 2 more times. Inhale up. And pause. And then exhale down. And one last time. Inhale up. And exhale down. Alrighty, come back to tabletop. We'll tuck our toes under, walk our hands back, coming into a squat on tops of our balls of our feet. And then pushing down, coming up to mountain pose. And bring our big toes so that they are in line with the long edge of the mat, or front of the mat, whichever way you're working. And then we'll lift the toes up off the mat, spread them apart, maybe. And then lower them back down to the mat and lift our heels up off the mat, and then lowering our heels down and really feeling and connecting to the earth. It's Earth Day this week, which sometimes there is an earth salutation out there that we've done before, but not today. You're off in another direction. But happy Earth Day, everyone. It's a beautiful day. Our daffodils are in bloom, and I can smell the fragrance of them, which is wonderful. Alrighty, so feeling nice and grounded in this new beginning of the season, and we'll kind of go through the essentials of good posture with our legs nice and straight, knees flexing, Add flexibility to our life. Navel's tucked to the spine. Spine's nice and long and tall, as is the back of the neck. Shoulders are relaxed and rolled back. Chin's tucked ever so slightly in, and the crown of our head reaches up to the sky. We'll sweep our hands up with a big inhale. And then exhale, bringing our hands down to the mat. Bending our knees generously, supporting our lower back. And then inhale, bringing our hands to our shins and flattening out our back for half forward fold. And then dropping the crown of our head down toward the mat. We'll just let our fingers dangle in the air here for a moment and let gravity take over. And then sweeping our hands all the way up overhead. And as they come up, we're going to come up onto our tippy toes. And you can do one foot at a time or both feet. And then lowering our hands back down. And as we do, lowering our heels back down to the mat. And we'll do that again, inhaling up. Coming up onto our tippy toes. Pausing at the top. And you can keep breathing or pause your breath if you like. And then lowering our hands down, lowering our heels back down. One last time, sweeping our hands up, coming up onto our tippy toes. Hands come up overhead. And then slowly lowering back down. And bringing our hands all the way down to the mat, bending our knees as we go. And then inhale, bringing our hands to our shins, nice flat back. Then setting the crown of the head down toward the mat. And sweeping our hands all the way up overhead. We'll bring our hands together. And we'll interlace our fingers, leaving our index finger pointing up to the sky. And then we'll kind of send our left hip toward the left and tip toward the right. And then back up again. And we'll do that on the other side, sending the right hip toward the right, tipping over to the left. And back up again. Notice if there's a difference between your sides. And back up again. And the last time on the left side. And then back up again. And we'll release our hands and bringing them back down to the mat, bending our knees as we go. Hands come to the shins, nice flat back. And then we'll send our hands back down to the mat. And we're going to bend our knees and come into a squat. So you're on the balls of your feet. And then we'll just send the heels back down to the mat, straightening our legs, coming into forward fold. And we'll come back again to the squat. We'll do this one more time. So we'll come back, bringing our heels back down to the mat, coming into a forward fold. And then one last time, bending our knees, coming into the squat. And then sending our heels back to the mat. Forward fold. And then sweeping our hands all the way up overhead. Palms come together. Palms come to heart center. And then palms come to the back of the hips. The feet are about hip width apart. Shoulders are relaxed. And shoulders relax. And then our fingertips are pointing down. And we'll just drop our shoulders back for supported back bend. Coming to that sweet spot where your breath is still nice and strong and has an even flow to it. Alrighty, we'll come back to mountain. Well done. Alrighty. We're gonna just kind of keep our wrists nice and loose. So just kind of make little circles with your hands. You can pull your wrist back if you'd like, or just the nice thing to do is just kind of make little circles with your hands. That'll keep you nice and loose. And then we'll sweep our hands up overhead. And then bring our hands down to the mat. Exhale. Inhale, bring our hands to our shins. Nice half forward fold. And then bringing our hands down to the mat, we're going to place them on the mat and send both feet back, coming into plank pose. Our shoulders are right above our wrists right below the shoulders. Getting your perspective, one way or the other. Heels are pushing to the back of the mat, navels to the spine, and elevated slightly so you don't have any sagging tummies. And then we're going to lift the right leg up and cross it over the left, touching the toes down, and then lifting it back up again and placing it beside the foot, back to plank pose. Do that 2 more times. Lift the right leg up, cross it over, set it down, lift it up, and bring it back. And then one last time, up, cross over, down, lift up, and bring it back. And then we'll lower to the mat, either knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga. And we'll keep our hands right below our shoulders. Lifting the chin and the chest up. We'll lift our hands up off the mat. And then setting the hands back down. Chest and chin, chin and chest come back down. And then we'll lift the chin and the chest, gently pushing into the hands, coming into cobra. And then lowering the chest and chin back down. And the next pose will be upward dog. So we're going to connect the tops of our feet with the mat and then fully extend our arms and come up to upward dog. And then bring the knees down and we'll bring the hips to the back of the heels, coming into child's pose. And then come back to tabletop. Tuck our toes under, lift our hips up to the sky, and come into downward dog. And just walk your dog here for a few moments. I was reading this week and many emails I get. I think this was on an Instagram feed, of a yoga Instagram feed, about how good downward dogs are, because it's one that has the inversion aspect to it. It has a restorative aspect to it, and it stretches out everything. So it didn't come under the heading of this is the one pose you should do every week or every day, but it was kind of suggesting that. And then we'll just walk our feet up to our hands, coming into forward fold, and then sweeping our hands up overhead. Palms come together, and palms come to heart center. And then we'll sweep our hands up again, overhead, and bring our hands down to the mat. And then to our shins for half forward fold. Nice straight back. And then bringing our hands down to the mat. Placing them on the mat, we're going to come into plank again. And then this time we're going to bring our knees to the mat and come into modified plank. So bring yourself to tabletop. And then kickstand the left leg out. Send the right leg down to the mat, bottom of the mat. And we're going to do the modified plank, this time lifting our leg up. So sweeping our hand up to the sky and lifting our right leg up. And then coming back down again. And we'll do that 2 more times. Sweeping our hand up and leg up. And then back down again. And one last time. Sweeping the hand and leg up. And back down again. And you can continue with that, or you can join me. I'm going to go back to a plank and then go into a side plank. So lifting the right leg up, crossing it over, placing it down, and then coming onto the left arm, sweeping the right arm up to the sky for side plank. And then back down. Coming back to the plank, we'll knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga back down. We'll lift the chin and the chest up. Lift the hands up off the mat for baby cobra. And set the chin and chest down. And then we'll gently lift the chin and chest up, coming into cobra. And then come back down again. And then we'll go into up dog. So placing the tops of your feet snug into the mat. Hands right below your shoulders. We're going to fully extend the arms. Come to up dog. And then place the knees down on the mat and come into child's pose. Then back to tabletop. And tuck our toes under, lifting our hips back up to downward dog. And walk out again. And we'll walk our feet up to our hands, coming into a forward fold. And then sweeping our hands all the way up overhead. Palms come together. Palms come to heart center. And then we'll just relax our hands. And again, just kind of make circles with them. Kind of release any tension that's been built up in the wrists. Kind of flap them around, loosen them up. Alrighty, we'll do that all on the other side. So sweeping our hands up overhead, big inhale, and then exhale, bringing our hands down to the mat, bending our knees as we go. Hands come to the shins for half forward fold. And then hands come down to the mat, placing them on the mat, we'll go into plank. I'm going to lift the left leg up, cross it over the right, place the toes down, and then bring it back to plank. Lift the left leg up again, cross it over the toes, or the left leg, bring the toes down, and then bring it back. And one last time, lift the left leg up, cross it over, bringing it down, and then bringing it back to plank. Then we'll lower to the mat. Knees just chin or chaturanga. Hands are right below the shoulders. Chin and chest rise up slightly, and then lift the hands off the mat. And then bring everything back down to the mat. Lift the chin and chest up, pressing gently into the hands, coming into cobra. And then back down again. And then to up dog. So tops of the feet snug in the mat. Push down the hands, extending the arms fully. And then bring the knees down to the mat. And lower the hips down to the ankles for child's pose. And we'll come back up to tabletop. Tuck the toes under, lifting the hips up to downward dog. And walk the dog out. And then slowly walk the toes up toward the hands, coming into forward fold. And then sweeping our hands all the way up to the sky. Palms come together, palms come to heart center. Take a breath. And then sweeping our hands all the way up again. And then bringing them down to the mat, bending our knees as we go, coming into forward fold. Bringing our hands to our shins, nice flat back. And then hands come to the mat, placing them on the mat. We're going to send both feet back to plank pose. And then we'll bring our knees down to the mat. Kickstand our right foot out outside of the mat, sending our left foot down to the bottom of the mat. With our right wrist right below our right shoulder. We're going to sweep our left hand and left leg up to the sky. And then back down again. And we'll do that 2 more times. Slowly with control, sweeping it up. And then back down again. And one last time, sweeping it up. And then back down again. So then you can join me in doing plank to side plank. So we'll come back to plank. And then lift the left leg up, cross it over the right, and then come onto our right arm, sending the left hand up to the sky. And then back to plank and down, knees, chest, chin. I think I can opt for this time. And come back to our tummy and back to baby cobra. So we'll lift our chin and chest up, lift the hands up off the mat, and then back down again. And then chin, chest comes up, pressing into our hands, into cobra. And then back down again. And the last time for up dog. Hands, arms extended fully, feet on the top of the mat. And then knees come down and hips come back to the ankles for child's pose. We'll come back to tabletop. And this time we're going to bring our knees out to the edges of the mat, bringing our big toes together and getting set up for thread the needle. So with our wrist right below our shoulders, knees out again to the edges of the mat. We're going to sweep the right hand up to the sky and then sweep it down and along the mat under our torso, bringing our right shoulder down to the mat. And you can take the left hand, either keep it on the mat or bring it to the back of your hip or send it up to the sky. And then bringing our hand back down to the mat, if it's not there already, pushing into the mat, coming back up. We'll do that on the other side. So right wrist below the right shoulder, sweeping our left hand up and then down along the mat, beneath our torso, sending it over to the left, or to the right rather, bringing our left shoulder down to the mat. And right hand's either on the mat or on your hip or up to the sky. And then we'll bring the right hand back down to the mat and bring ourselves back up to a seated position, or actually tabletop, and swing our legs out to the side, and we're going to come into a seated position. And then we'll roll down. Well, I can use the express method to do that today. Knees come to the chest. Just give them a nice big hug. And then we'll place our hands on our knees and do a few rowboats. So we'll place the hands on the knees and then extend the arms fully toward the end of the mat. Then opening up our knees to each side, soles of the feet come together. And then guide the knees back toward the shoulders. And then close the knees over the chest, back to knees and chest. We'll do that a couple more times. Extending the arms fully, sending the knees away from you. And then opening the knees to each side. Guiding the knees back toward your shoulders. And closing the knees over your chest. And give them a nice hug. And one last time. Extending the knees out. Opening up the knees to each side. Soles are touching. And guiding the knees back toward your chest. Closing the knees over your chest. And giving one last hug. We'll send the arms out to each side so that they're at height of the shoulders. And gently lower the knees to the right side of the mat. Sending our gaze to the left. And then bringing our head back to center. Bringing our knees back to center. Lowering the knees to the left side. And once they land, you send your gaze over to the right side. And then bring your head back to center again. Knees back to center. And then send them down to the end of the mat. Feet go to each corner. Let them just flop open. Arms come toward your torso, palms facing up. Take a few deep inhales. And pause and feel that abundance, that fullness. And then exhale through your mouth. We'll do that 2 more times. Inhale. Pause. And exhale through your mouth. One last time. Inhale. Pause. And then exhale. Today's poem is by William Wordsworth, titled The Daffodils. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high o'er valleys and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils. Beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. Continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle in the Milky Way, they stretched in never-ending line along the margin of a bay. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. For oft, when on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. And then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils.